let's talk back pain. Let's talk back pain as I get warm for this session. So many people talk to me about back pain and the fact that they can't train because their back's in so much pain. By the way, this is an amazing stretch for back. Getting a ball on the back, see if you can touch your toes, touch the floor and stretching back, taking your time. So people talk to me about back pain all the time. My back's knacking, I've always got back pain, I've got a weak back. But the problem is, a lot of people don't realise, because they're getting older, they're not getting a weak back. The weak back is making them feel older. Now the problem with the weak back is that the reason why usually it's weak is because it's not getting used properly. You're not building some core strength. So let's talk about it. Very important to get warm before lifting heavy. And so before I really work my back here, put it in what many would call a dangerous position. Everyone thinks that heavy weights hurt your back, and they do if you do it wrong. But if you do it right, it can have a lot of positive benefits, as can body weight training as well at the same time. Things like planks, press-ups, squats, sit-ups can be very beneficial. Anything that moves your body really in a challenging way under resistance is beneficial, be it heavyweight, lightweight, body weight. What I'm doing here is one of my own personal training things. I'm doing some cleans and some prowler pushes, which is functional body movements. But in between, I want to talk about back pain. So let's go. If you think about modern lifestyles, people sit down all day. They drive to work, they sit and type, they sit on the phones, they sit and do office work. Then they drive home, they sit and watch TV for hours. Then they lie down, they get up, they sit and eat breakfast, they sit in the car, they sit. Most people have back pain because of sedentary lifestyles. So if you think about it, sitting down all day doesn't really help strengthen your back, does it? Now, I was actually on a 7-hour drive yesterday at Nottingham. Me and my pal went to Warhammer World, and we had a whale of a time being all big nerds and geeks. It was a 7-hour drive, sort of 3.5 there, 3.5 back. And my back was killing. And then I was standing, we played some Warhammer for 3 hours. So I was standing up for 3 hours and I was sitting down for 7.5 hours or whatever it was. And I was killing my back, and I've got a strong back, and it was killing just by sitting down. Now imagine somebody who doesn't exercise or work out. How much that must be hurting them, causing them further pain because of a weakness. Now I know movement is medicine. You should know the same thing as well. So when it comes to alleviating back pain, we need to start to think about exercise and movement in different ways. Disc. So what we're about to do here is what we'll call a clean. It's an Olympic style movement as part of what we call Olympic lifting. Clean and jerk and snatch are the two main Olympic lifts. And I fell in love with cleans quite a while ago when I started doing this part of a CrossFit program I was part of years ago. And I got coached from Sonny Webster, who was in the Great British team for the Olympics for over a year. And I learned a lot hiring a coach who has more knowledge than me. It's a great life lesson, that. And what I learned a lot was about technique. The thing is with weight training and back pain, and just any kind of exercise and back pain, is that technique matters. How you do something makes a massive difference. For most people, they want an ego lift, which is why they get hurt. Now don't get me wrong, I've bent up to pick a book up and hurt me back. You've all probably done. But does that mean that your back is necessarily weak? Well, my back is definitely not weak, and I've put it out bending over to pick something up off the floor. You might have done the same, but the likelihood of you putting your back out is actually less when you work on increasing your strength, your mobility, and your overall health and fitness. Dash! Anything like a plank, you probably know what a plank is, right? Anything like holding weight and squatting with it tightens your core, right? What we call our core. Core's our entire trunk around here. It all helps aid the back, because if you think about it, a strong back is not just a strong back. It's strong that way because it has a supporting front. And likewise, a strong front usually has a supporting back, right? Now, yes, you see lads training the biceps in the mirror and having tiny triceps. You see them just training chest and neglecting the back. It's not really a way to go. I know a lot of people do that, but if you want real results in life, you got to train your whole body. You got to train functionally. The thing about back pain is that it is often a weakness as to why it's happening, and a weakness from inactivity, not doing things that improve your core strength. Now what I'm doing here in the clean is a fairly intermediate to advanced move. I wouldn't suggest this for a beginner. I've been training 20 years after all, and I've been coached from some of the best in the world when it comes to lifting, strength, conditioning, that kind of thing. But what I'm doing is just a very, very small part of the overall picture. Something I enjoy doing, which benefits me. Any kind of resistance-based exercise from push-ups to sit-ups to squats to planks to bench presses to overhead presses to cleans to bent over rows. Anything that is challenging that way will help your back strength. Most people avoid exercise because they've got a bad back, but they've got a bad back mostly because they avoid exercise. That's just the God's honest truth. People are avoiding the hard shit for fear of hurting themselves further when they're hurting themselves because they're avoiding the hard work. Now it's time for my work sets. 5x1 today, 5 heavy singles at 80 kilo. So it's took us this far through this video to actually get to my first work set. I've been preparing and warming up for the last 20 minutes actually, although you've only witnessed a few moments of it. But we're actually getting to the first set here. Now when it comes to back pain, if I was to just come in and lift this weight, of course I would hurt me back. Could I still hurt me back in the process? Of course. It's always a risk, but you know what? It's a risk through life. Like I said before, bending over to pick a book up, you can put your back out like that, but you're far less likely for that to happen if you've got a strong and nimble back. Haven't cleaned this for a while, quite a while actually. But the thing is, you need to move in order to alleviate pain, physical pain. And you'll notice this, those who exercise, you'll find that actually the pain tends to go when you're moving. Your body's creating blood flow, it's promoting recovery, it's getting blood to the muscles and the joints that it needs. When you're sitting down or just standing up for hours and not really doing any good movement, you're not getting the blood flow in the right areas. So you're not promoting recovery, good health, and you're not stimulating muscle to get stronger. The stronger you are, the more useful you are in life. And you don't have to lift necessarily massively heavy weights for that, but you do have to put your body under resistance and put your body into hard things to make it harder, to make it tougher, to make it stronger, to make it just better. And along the way, you'll also feel the positive mental benefits of feeling strong. The more you do, the better you get. God, that was a bit rough. Ooh, that was rough. I have actually had quite a fair few back injuries, thankfully. I've had none that require surgery, anything that bad, but I've had ones where I've had to be helped to the toilet before. It's been horrendous, mostly off deadlifting actually. So this is what I do instead of a heavy deadlift. Deadlifts, for me, it's just an ego movement, I feel. People just love to say, I can get a 150 kilo deadlift, I can get a 200 kilo deadlift, whatever it is. Can be useful, but I think the risk to reward ratio is too great. So I tend not to get too many clients that deadlift super heavy. I would rather do a bit more control and reps. And I found that the clean is something I've never really been hurt on, but I find a lot of benefit from. At the end of the day, athletes choose this exercise so they perform better. And if it's transferable for athletes, it's good enough for me. So I like to do things that people who perform at a high level do, and you can get a lot of bang for your buck out of an exercise like a clean. But again, immediate to advance this one, if you are starting off in exercise, I would always recommend even just getting used to doing a 2-minute plank, for example. There's not many people on the planet can do a 2-minute plank. If you can do a 2-minute plank, you're in a high level already. All of my clients can do 2-minute planks, which is what I love to promote with TST, whether it be online or training in this magnificent environment behind me. But let's crack on. That's better. Woo-hoo! How heavy that like? However, feels good, man. Feels good when you're pushing your body. Safely, of course. You'll notice that I'm doing a lot of technique there. I'm getting low, I'm tightening into the bar. I'm getting me gaze forward. I'm basically taking a big breath in. I'm filling the natural weightlifting belt in the diaphragm. I'm getting focused. I'm getting the hook grip on. If you're into lifting, you'll know what that is. I've got the chalk on my hands. I'm making sure that all the little things, the lifting shoes, everything's in place. Because you got to do things properly, and it takes time to learn technique for things. And that's most people's issue, is that when you've got back pain and you feel unfit and you feel weak and you feel shit and you feel pathetic, which happens for a lot of people, it's embarrassing sometimes to admit you're in that place, and that's okay. You've got to be willing to be a bit shit at the start. I was shit at the start. I didn't know how to do this before I started. There was loads of things I was getting wrong. Guess what I was doing along the way as well? Getting hurt. Getting hurt because I was doing things wrong. And that's mostly what people are doing with their back pain. They're getting hurt because they're doing things wrong. They're not actually working on strengthening their core, strengthening their back, strengthening their body, becoming fit and healthy, making sure that they've got muscles to support them so that their back doesn't go just bending over, picking up a book. Can it happen? Yes, of course. But it's less likely. And you know what? Back pain's awful because it just prevents you from doing shit in life. Wouldn't it be nice to wake up, even if you were a bit stiff, to wake up and be stiff is a nice thing actually. But to wake up and just have stiffness from exercise, and then notice once you got moving, you know what, I feel better. The movement is the medicine. Look over there. Point that over there on that wall there. It's written on top of the fucking the fire exit there. Movement is medicine. It's a life philosophy that I've got and I want to coach to everybody. You know, it is the pathway to a happier life. If you are sit on your arse, if you drive all day, if you sit and watch telly for hours and you don't do much and you're a drinker and a smoker and whatnot, you're not going to have a very good quality of life. And especially couple that with back pain, holy shit, you're going to feel terrible. So it's time you got moving. Now what you did in that movement, it doesn't necessarily have to be anything particular. Would weight training be beneficial? Absolutely, if it's done properly in a controlled environment. Ideally with a coach, a PT, somebody who's going to show you how to do things. It doesn't need to be what I'm doing here, which is a quite advanced Olympic heavy move, but I've been doing it a lot of years. It needs to be something that you can sink your teeth into, which feels challenging, which makes you feel maybe a little bit inexperienced, but makes you think, actually, I'd like to come back and get better at that after you've done it. And for most of you watching this, if you've never exercised in a way like that before, once you start, you get that feeling of, you know what, I probably would like to do this again and get better. And the great thing about beginners is quite simple. And I see this all the time when people start in my TST program, online or offline, especially those who've never done much before. It's such a shock to the system that the body goes, what the fuck's this? And it responds so fast. I've had a guy with us 5 weeks now, and he looks like a completely different person. He looks healthy, he looks vibrant, he looks fit, and he's hardly done any exercise in his life. He's in his 50s. And he's like, I want to sign up with you for a year. I just feel amazing. And when you get to that stage after just 5 weeks of, 5 decades not doing anything, and then in 5 weeks of movement, you feel fucking incredible, that's something worth paying attention to. So I just hope that this video has been a little bit insightful, a little bit maybe inspiring towards, if you do have back pain, towards getting moving again and understand it's okay. You don't have to jump into heavy weights or anything like that, but you do have to move to feel better. Movement is medicine. It's not just a nice fancy phrase, it's a life philosophy. And you can get into moving any way that you like. Dancing, swimming, weightlifting, jogging, rock climbing, martial arts. Like, it doesn't particularly matter, but if you're stuck on where to go, drop me a DM on Instagram or Facebook and let's talk. Set 3, here we go. Best rep that's so far. If you'd like to learn how to create outstanding levels of energy, motivation, and self-control, my second book, Supercharged, the modern day guide to doing exactly that, is out now.